Hi, Analisa 6 here with the December 2022 horoscope for Capricorn, Sun, and Rising. Capricorn, we're about to enter your season this coming month. Of course, that doesn't really happen towards the end of the month. Let's see, it looks like December 22nd, we enter your season. However, despite the fact that it's not your season until December 22nd, we have Mercury and Venus both entering Capricorn in December. It looks like that's happening for Mercury on the 7th and Venus around the 10th. So this is actually a pretty auspicious time for you, starting early on in December. Mercury and Venus entering kind of that first house area for the Capricorn rising individual and influencing the Capricorn sun from a horoscope perspective really enables you to step into your power and kind of feel a sense of confidence around yourself, which is really good for you. Venus in the first house, I was talking a little bit about this in one of the other videos. Whenever Venus is transiting our first house, it's a really good opportunity for us to work on healing our relationship to our identity or our sense of self. And it can be a really positive time to focus on self-love rituals or gestures of how we relate to self in that way. The other positive thing could be our relationship to how we adorn ourselves. And so Venus has to do with beauty. The first house has to do with our head. So a lot of times people that have a transit going through that area of their chart will feel inspired to change something about their appearance, maybe a new hairdo, or maybe just getting yourself, done up in some way more regularly that feels good. I was just reflecting on that today, actually, not to make it about me, but, I was getting ready to do these videos and, I definitely care about how I look even when I'm schlepping around the house. I'm just somebody that knows that I enjoy being cute in my pajamas or things like that. But when I was doing my makeup, doing my hair, even though it's like not particularly styled anyway, I mean, I just put it in braids, but just the act of taking care of myself and taking care of the way that I feel in myself, adorning myself, it feels good to me. And I know that if I go too many days without really having that relationship with myself, I can start to feel just kind of schleppy and gross. And not necessarily in a hygiene way, but just in how I feel about myself. And I think that it's really important to love yourself regardless of what age you are or what weight you are, or whether or not you have Botox or not, or just any of that stuff. I think we're living in a time where we're learning how to accept ourselves for what we were born with, in a way that's really awesome, and kind of looking at beauty standards in a completely different way. I think that's really important to define how we feel beautiful to ourselves. And I went through a period, like most of my life, and I'm bringing this up because I think it relates to the Venus Mercury placement for Capricorn horoscope. But I went through a period where I really liked the idea of completely having control over how I looked. I was super into punk rock. I still love punk rock, but like changing my hair color all the time, changing my hairstyle all the time, wearing crazy clothing, like that was empowering for me. And then there was a point where it felt like a lot. Like I got really tired of dyeing my hair, and I didn't like that I felt insecure when I didn't have my hair dyed a certain way. I didn't like the fact that I felt insecure if I didn't have makeup on. I didn't like the fact that I felt like I needed to wear a bunch of jewelry all the time. And so I went through this whole period of dismantling all of that and becoming really okay with myself with no makeup, no hair color. I didn't do a color correction. I just grew all my hair out to my natural color and had my natural color for 5 years, and just worked on being like healthy and fit, but in an authentic way to myself, that wasn't based on anybody else. And it was so good and so empowering for me. And then I went through another shift where I didn't feel in alignment with how I looked anymore. I felt like, I just felt like that was a different me. I felt like that person was for that, this was like my post-COVID person, and lived in I lived in the Bay Area. When I moved, I felt like I was just a new identity was taking place. And I hadn't had blonde or light hair since I was in 8th grade, I think. I used to dye my hair blonde all the time. And I actually associated that time in my life in a negative way. But for some reason, I was just like, I feel like going blonde. I feel like putting balayage highlights in my hair. And I started lower. And um, I I just had a completely different sense of who I wanted to be in my life that was just totally different than what I had been doing the last 5 years. And it was a little bit, I had some conflict about it. Like I was like, but I just went through accepting myself for not wearing makeup every day and for not dyeing my hair and, you know, for not feeling the need to wear jewelry all the time or things like that. And it was really good for me. I highly recommend it. I think that's such a positive thing to do. I think it's good to accept yourself no matter what. But I also think it's incredibly important when you feel these shifts within yourself to lean into them and do things that empower you. Because what happens, and I think this is typical for a Capricorn, is that we can get locked into an identity that we're not necessarily happy in anymore, right? And I think it's important to remember that life is not fixed. Like things are constantly changing. We're constantly changing and evolving and growing. And it's important that we don't encapsulate ourselves into this box that we think we're supposed to stay within forever, because that becomes rigid and stifling. And Capricorn can do that to themselves. They can put themselves in that box and say, well, this is how I am. This is how it is. This is how, I don't like these colors. I don't like these hairstyles. I don't like this style. And I'm just going to stay that way. And I think that when you're going through a transit that wants you to lean into evolving yourself and loving yourself, sometimes it means embracing things that you normally in the past didn't have a relationship with in the same way. And so I shared my story, not to make it about me, but to share that there's seasons of life that we go through where the way we express ourselves and the relationship we have with ourselves changes. And you might go through a season where self-love means loving yourself for your natural born stuff. And then you might go through a season where loving yourself means getting your nails done every month, you know, or wearing jewelry or dyeing your hair. Or it might mean that you meditate every day and it's a within thing. It's not necessarily an adornment thing, or all of the above. And this month for you, Capricorn, is about defining that and figuring out what that means for you this month and going into the new year. And it's not fixed. It's going to change, but it's important that you allow yourself to experiment with your identity in a way that's fun and liberating. And you know, you don't have to make a drastic change, but if you feel inspired to cut your hair off and do a different hairstyle, this would be a good month for you to go ahead and pull the trigger on that. By the end of the month, we have a new moon in Capricorn. It's on December 23rd and it's at 1 degree Capricorn. And so again, this is going to influence that energy for you. If you feel like you want to try some stuff out in that way, this would be the time to set those intentions. However, Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde at the end of the month. So it's going to be kind of a weird thing of like, this is my season. I've got some planetary helpers in Venus and Mercury for part of it. And then Mercury is going to go retrograde. You might have some regrets on some of those decisions. So make sure it's something you really want. And remember, hair grows. Hair is an easy thing to change and it always grows back. Don't sign any important documents or contracts at the end of the month. Get that stuff sorted out, probably closer to the end of January, February, but this is the time to put it in motion. I'm rushing through this a little bit in that way because I've talked about it in the past, however many videos I've done so far today. One thing that I skimmed over that I don't think I addressed was the first moon. So I kind of jumped ahead and talked about the new moon at the end of the month because it's in line with your sun rising energy Capricorn. But at the beginning of the month, we have that full moon in Gemini. And so where this is impacting you is going to be your way that you relate to your health in your daily routine. This energy is going to kind of amplify any anxiety that you might be working through. And so it's really important that you find ways to expel energy that are safe and healthy. Walking or going to the gym and working out is a really positive way to work on anxiety. And when the full moon happens on the 7th or 8th, depending on the time and where the location of where you are, you might kind of see that some of your past routines or ideas about how you live your life on a day-to-day needs to change. And so your daily routine is going to be impacted by this full moon, and it's a good time for you to release any habits that are not serving you anymore, especially your health. So if there's things that you're prone to doing on a regular basis that you know are not good, like let's say you smoke, for example, and you want to quit smoking. December is a great time to quit smoking. Let's say that you're, you know, staying up all night scrolling. It's a very Gemini thing to do, or, you know, kind of getting lost in overthinking certain things. Find ways to ground yourself, find ways to kind of slow the mind down and calm yourself down in ways that are healthy. So some examples of that would be, you know, channeling the mind into being physical. Maybe having a adult coloring book is a really good way to kind of get your busy mind grounded without just kind of spiraling out on social media. Photography is a really good activity for a Gemini kind of mind. And so maybe that's something that would be a fun hobby to kind of do in the month of December. Just kind of giving yourself some hobbies, you know, in your daily routine is positive for kind of some of the more anxious energy that you might have. Okay, fast forwarding back to the end of the month with that new moon. That new moon's also squaring Jupiter, which means that Jupiter entering Aries is actually going to be squaring Capricorn. That's a tense energy. That energy creates a lot of pressure. And so you might be feeling a lot of personal pressure during the last half of the month, and also throughout the first half of the year, when it comes to your you know, not just yourself, your sense of self-expression, but also how you relate to your inner world and your family. Jupiter in the 4th house is interesting. This is from a Capricorn rising perspective. So people that have Aries in the 4th house are having Jupiter transit that right now. Of course, it's on an individual level different, but as from a horoscope perspective, Jupiter is in that area right now. And from my experience, and I'm sure it's different for different people, but from my astrological experience, the need to change your personal surroundings with where you live is really dominant. And so you might feel kind of this inclination to move or to work on your home or expand something in your home in some way. I'm not Capricorn rising, I'm Sagittarius rising, but I have this transit of Jupiter and Aries in my 4th house on a personal level. And I can't tell you how much pressure and tension I'm feeling around wanting to reorganize my home. And I'm getting really frustrated with the parts of my house that I can't change right now. We have a lot of projects and we have a lot of renovations that we need to do. And I can feel, even with Jupiter not there yet, I can just feel it. Like, I'm just like, I want to do this. I want to buy all this furniture. I want to do all these things. So that could be a theme for anybody that has Capricorn energy for this horoscope, right? Because that's where Jupiter is in the chart for the horoscope, is, you know, wanting to expand upon that. Another thing that's common with the Jupiter placement here is that you don't necessarily want to be in your physical home. You want to see the world as your home, and you want to travel and experience things from that perspective too. So of course, it's on an individual level how these things impact us, but that can also be common for a Jupiter transiting the 4th house. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. Those are the big themes for you. And so, you know, just kind of simplifying, this is a great time for self-love and really pouring things back into your own cup, and, you know, focusing a lot on how you create structure in your life in a way that really facilitates your inner confidence and your ability to kind of move with the seasons of your life in a way that empowers you to be your full authentic self in this moment in time. All right, happy birthday, Capricorn, and good luck.